So let's get back to Intune and the purpose of this presentation. Let's look at the capabilities of Copilot in Intune. So if we're looking at Copilot in Intune, and Microsoft likes to call it Explorer, so I don't know if any of you already have Security Copilot enabled within Intune and have that, not just that Copilot button in the top bar, but also have Explorer in your navigation bar. I don't see a lot of people recognizing what I'm talking about. Okay. So right now there's an option that's called Explorer if you have Security Copilot enabled, and that's the SKU. You need to get separate SKUs for Security Copilot. So that's one thing to consider. Now with E5 licenses, you get some of those SKUs already assigned for you, so that might help you with getting started. Though I find it's now more a way of getting into a fight over SKUs with the security teams, because they are very Security Copilot focused and don't fully understand that it's also beneficial within Intune and management of your endpoints. Key capabilities. Copilot in Intune is currently very good at explaining the configuration. You can ask it things like, why are these devices flagged as non-compliant? And it will explain exactly what policy configurations are responsible for the non-compliant flag of your endpoint. So that can really help you with some troubleshooting as well. And it's also right now capable of proposing in its after summarizing the settings, these are the improvement actions that you can perform. It will not act on its own, it will just make suggestions. So maybe that's a good thing. Maybe we want more. I'm still trying to figure out what the best usage of Explorer is. So I'm hoping that everyone kind of can see the screen correctly. I'll try to improve. So that makes it a bit.
It's your side,
Yeah, my side. Yes, that's what I figured. It's so much better.
Shading.
I will not touch that screen anymore. So if we're looking at Explorer, it's kind of similar like the Copilot prompt that you have. And what they did is they incorporated a lot of pre-configured queries that you can ask Copilot. So that also means that, maybe I'm doing like a spoiler alert to the next slide. But that also means that you are kind of steered into the right query to run Copilot with, to make sure that it gives you results and not just maybe start hallucinating or things. So it's using Security Copilot in the background, which has a specific Intune plugin for Security Copilot. So that allows it to use the Graph APIs to retrieve the configuration that you have running in Intune. As mentioned, it's, or at least what I love about Explorer is that it first starts with a nice summary, so you kind of can read up if it understood your query correctly and figure out, oh yes, it is doing some reasoning on what I kind of asked it. So that's good. And I love the fact that it also makes suggestions for other queries that might help you in your troubleshooting. And that the last part is those suggestions for these are the things that you can consider like changes to make in your configuration, like applying best practices. Typical workflows within Explorer that I see currently is like that troubleshooting, or at least that's where I really wanted to help me to basically say, oh, I'm getting a non-compliant device. Please explain to me what is non-compliant and what actions I can perform. It can also help you with policy design if you ask it the right queries. are there any policy conflicts happening in my environment, just to get a bit more of awareness and have that quick, like insights reasoning or insights analytics available for you. So that's where I see definitely benefits in using Explorer. And then if we're looking at current limitations, and I know I'm not supposed to talk about private previews and anything, but if we're looking at current limitations, what you're seeing is that it doesn't support autonomous changes, which in my opinion is a good thing, because I still want to be that human in the loop. What you can see is that it's very much focused only on Intune, so there's not a lot of correlation with Entra configurations or Defender to see where different settings might be conflicting with your Intune configuration. What I like is that from a governance perspective, it's still following those RBAC rules that you have in place. And of course, you have these compliance regulations to consider. For me, the main limitation within Explorer is currently it doesn't support like free conversations. So I can only choose the queries that are available or presented. So if I type in anything, I usually get an error up top that says, please select one of the suggested queries, or I need to go to the separate process to add my specific query as a good candidate to be available in the next release. I'm not supposed to talk about NDA stuff, so I will not suggest that maybe this will all change in the near future, but I hope this is not recorded for everyone on the internet. So for me, Explorer is a nice way to better understand the current configuration, but it doesn't feel like it will really help me in being more efficient at my daily tasks. So fortunately, Microsoft also offers different security copilots in Intune. So I wanted to also look at that and how much that will help us out. If we're looking at security copilot agents, what you're seeing is that it's really scoped to one specific task. So that's something that we need to take into account. It will not do any complex tasks that require different focus areas or anything. So it's very use case specific. It does offer that observe, react, or reason and act capabilities, and it's fully integrated within your Intune admin center. So that you don't have to switch to Security Copilot and then basically start doing your own queries there, or run the agent from there and use it there. You can just use it from within the console. So there's a separate section on your navigation bar that has the option for Intune agents, I think, or Security Copilot agents. You can click on it and then you're presented with 3 different agents that currently are pre-built or built in to the console. First one is the change review agent. So what it does is it will help you in reviewing your current policy settings or any changes that are happening within Intune. Especially it will flag changes that might make your configuration deviate from best practices, or that are considered like risky or more unwanted configurations. So it will flag that, and it will also make suggestions in case of configuration drift or anything. So it's just like a little extra guardian on your configuration, because I don't know what your configurations or who or who has access to your Intune environment. I know from some of my customers that it's more than just the admins or more than just the Intune engineers that are having different rights within Intune. For instance, for EPM approvals, or we even have some old legacy rights that are still lingering there, where people or like the packagers are able to make changes. So it's kind of nice to have this little guardian there that basically says, oh, we're seeing now these changes within your Intune configuration. Please double check if this is actually what you want to have changed, and even approve it. I was, in my previous presentation, I was still including the device offboarding agent, but during the public preview, Microsoft decided to deprecate that agent for reasons. And so please, if you are already using it, as of June 1st, you will not be able to use it anymore. So keep that in mind. If you have it configured, it's still working now, but as of June 1st, it will not work anymore. So they will definitely shut it down. The other last agent that is currently available in the public preview is your policy configuration agent, which I got super excited about because they state that that agent will be able to also help you in configuring like new policy settings. So that allows you to just use natural language to describe this is what I want my policy to consider, and then have it translate that into the right policy settings. So that kind of makes sense or feels helpful. Of course, I wanted to go all in with my policy configuration agent, especially because I currently have an engineer that built an entire Excel sheet of all the CIS benchmark best practices, and then has it manually mapped to all the Intune configurations that we have in place, or the policy configuration settings that we have in place, and then double checks if we're still following best practices, or even if there are justifications to deviate from those best practices. It's very easy to set up. It only needs those configuration read access from a least privilege perspective. It does use the identity that you use or specify for authentication during setup of the agent, so keep that in mind. That's valid for 90 days, and then you need to re-authenticate with your agent. It will give you a notification. And as mentioned, it does use the Intune plugin for Security Copilot. So I figured it's always better to give you some visuals. It allows you to create a knowledge source, so it can use that knowledge within its own reasoning. So what I'm doing first is create that knowledge source. In this case, it's a text-based line by line configuration of those best practices. And after I have that knowledge source, what you're seeing in the meanwhile is me trying to skip over all my, it's not going fast enough, clicks. So after creating the knowledge, I can create a policy draft. See, for me, this still feels like, hurry up. Yeah. You can type faster. I select the knowledge that I previously created, so it knows that it has to create a policy based on what's in that knowledge source. And I can also give it extra instructions. In my case, I just said, just apply those best practices. And then the agent is doing some magic in the background. And if all goes well, you get a nice suggestion of a policy with all those settings. So in this case, it's just a couple of settings, but I'm showing you now that it had some of those administrative template settings in it. And then I can review it, click create, and then you actually see that policy will be created automatically by the agent. I can also configure the assignment of the policy, so you actually get like a pre-configured policy and then go through all the different steps for your policy assignment. You have a question?
Yes. When you do this, would the agent also be able to take into consideration the other existing policies? So, what if it has a policy that violates some other policies? Or there's other policies that's blocking this policy that it's not aware of? Now it implemented this, it should work.
Yeah.
But it's not working because there's another policy that supersedes it or something like that. How can it take that into consideration so it goes a step above and see how is the full landscape of policies, and is that?
It can do like a health check. So it can, if you're asking it to please check this policy and if it's consistent or if it's following best practices. In this case, I specifically said I want you to create a new policy for me. But if you're still in that conversation with the agent, then it will definitely show the conflicting policies that it sees or conflicting settings. I do believe that right now it doesn't take the assignments into consideration. So we asked Microsoft to also look at the assignments, because if you have separated different policy settings to different user groups, then that should not be flagged as a conflict, because it will never, basically I wanted to also be aware of what devices are included or what users are included in the assignment, and then state, I do see conflicting settings in this policy, but it will not be assigned to the same group, or maybe it will be assigned to the same group. So yes, we're still working with Microsoft to get all that extra reasoning in there as well.
So it's not there today?
It's not there today, basically.
In your example, it's for Windows device, does it work
Yes.
with devices as well?
Yes, it will work with all your configuration policy, device configuration policies. Yes. As far as I know, I do have to admit that I was focused on the cloud PC, so I just did the Windows device settings, but I know there's also the settings for macOS in there. Looking at best practices, once again, make sure that you scope and use it first in a pilot environment, especially also because Microsoft says this is still in public preview, so it can change, as you saw with the device offboarding agent. It can still change, and they can still make a lot of changes during the public preview. I'm happy that it still needs that human in the loop, so you still have to manually hit that create button before changes are being made. And I would definitely also check up on the feedback that it basically gives you once you are creating it, for conflicts of settings, for instance. Looking at the limitations, as I mentioned, it's still like fluid because it's preview. That's the disclaimer that, of course, Microsoft uses. It's very focused on that specific task, so just for policies, thank you very much. And I do like the reasoning, but for me it still feels like it's just a quick summary. And I would also like the option to really follow the thought process of the agent. And that's kind of still limited from an audit log perspective. My biggest annoyance right now is it's a small print. Just be fair and state right now this agent in public preview can only handle .txt files, and they cannot be bigger than 25 kilobytes. I don't know about you, but I would love to have that sys benchmark, which is a PDF file, just be added as a knowledge source, which is 7 MBs in size. So there's a kind of conflict with the previous limitations.
Well, you could take that file and have it exported into a bunch of TXT files.
Yes.
It's
Yeah,
ghetto.
that's basically what I did for the demo. But then you're very limited, even with a TXT file. You're still very limited to how many of those best practices you can incorporate.
Are these some of like the skills files you might use in Cloud or something?
No, they're not even markdown. It's
Okay.
just text. So I just had in my demo, I just had a file that had like bullets or like dashes in a text file that says this is the recommendation. I'll show you within 8 minutes that I kind of switched to wanting to be more in control, wanting to figure out if there were more options available than just the agents that are currently built in. So I went to, I don't know if you call it the dark side or the light side, I'm not entirely sure yet. So I looked at different capabilities that I currently have, or different options, technologies that I currently have to build my own agent. I can do it low code with Copilot Studio, but that's very Microsoft 365 focused. I can do it low code with Security Copilot. It has a build option that allows you to build your own agents. Or I can go pro code all in with Microsoft Foundry. So what you see in comparison is that the complexity goes up when you're going more pro code. But as mentioned, I really try to figure out what tool is the best use case for all the different agents that I want to build. Looking at Copilot Studio, as mentioned, it's very Microsoft 365 focused, but that's the traditional Office side of Microsoft 365, because I do realize Intune is also part of the Microsoft 365 product line, but it's not natively supported within Copilot Studio. You still have to build your own custom connectors for the Graph API calls to get that configuration retrieved and use it. Security Copilot basically has the same limitations as Copilot Studio, but I do like the fact that it does have those that Intune plugin incorporated with it. And within that Intune plugin, it gives you certain skills that you can assign, or tools that you can assign to your agent and have it use it. And of course, Security Copilot has that more focus on also correlating the data from Defender and Entra to have a better overall view of your security posture and configuration. So I tried to build this really cool CIS benchmark compliant agent within Security Copilot. So as mentioned, you have different options. You can start from scratch. You can upload a pre-configured YAML manifest, or you can use a prompt to help you build your. So I already played around with a lot of prompts. So I have a very extensive prompt that, thank you. I think I can manage to finish in time. Very extensive prompt. And then what you see is that prompt is nicely translated into an instructions MD file. So that's building on those additional options that you have to predefine how your agents should act and what it should focus on. So that's what you do in an instructions file.
Okay.
It also translated from my prompt the input that it needs, like a policy name and the set of CIS benchmark settings, and it allows me to use those tools, as you quickly saw just a minute ago. You can test it, but I noticed that also the build is also in preview. So for me, testing didn't work, so I had to publish the agent and then start using it because of the authentication. So it has to have a user assigned tool, because it will act as that user from an authentication and credentials perspective.
But didn't we just say we have to make sure and we're confident enough before we put it in production.
Yes.
And now we're forced to put it in production to test the agent.
Well, yeah, so Microsoft kind of tells you, I'll let this run. So Microsoft kind of tells you that obviously you should not run and test your agents in production, but have a separate tenant for it. But I know from experience that even if we have a separate tenant, the SKUs for Security Copilot will not be available within that test or development tenant. So you're super limited. So you almost instantly go to production, and then it becomes a bit more scary. But what you can do, at least if you're having these debates with security team as well, is to configure a separate workspace within Security Copilot and assign it like a SKU limit. So at least if it goes rogue, it only has a limited amount of SKUs that you can use. So what we did is we built like a dev workspace and a production workspace to have at least scoped that agent a bit, but I think it's like false security. But yeah, it will run with your production data. So it's very important to make sure that you understand, and that's why I still feel nervous about not having full visibility of all the reasoning that it's doing or all the actions that it's doing, for instance. So you have to make sure that if you have a user set up for your agent, because you have to do the setup and then authenticate with a user, make sure that user only has least privilege graph permissions. So only read, please, before we're having new news reports on rogue agents. What I do like about this agent that I built is that it does give me a nice list of all the compliancy. So it gives you a quick overview of, oh, these settings are not compliant with the recommendations. Maybe I need to improve them. As it does with, in the summary, it gives you like actionable follow-up tasks or recommendations. So it does guide you into improving your environment. But as mentioned, I did not include a make it so kind of button in it. So you still are the human in control of any changes that you want to make. You have to manually perform the recommended actions, so to speak. One thing that I found kind of annoying is it does allow you to use the skill set from the plugin, so to give your agent basically, so the tools are more like little wrappers across your for your Graph API calls. But what I notice is that it doesn't have a tool or skill available that says, give me all the device configuration profiles. So I'm still limited to have to specify the profile name to have it actually check that profile and see if there are any, or policy settings, and see if there are any differences. First of all, yes, that's what I figured. I'll just quickly skip through this one because I did found a really cool playground. So Agents for Admins, created by Ugur Kok, is a place where he wants communities to offer their different agent builds. So those are the YAML manifests that you can import. And if you are eager to do like a pro code and to have full control and put in the guardrails for your own agent, check out the blog post from Yannick. Because I basically used his Intune agent code and then noticed that it does have a skill or tool that says get configuration profiles. So that allows me to get all the profiles in place. I did extend it with my sys benchmark. I kind of cheated because I noticed that, for instance, Claude also has uses a lot of tokens to process a PDF file. So I asked it to provide me with a script that translates all the PDF recommendations into a JSON file. So that JSON file has all the rule numbers for all the recommendations in it. It has the recommendations, but also links it to like the Intune settings. So that will definitely make it faster for processing if I'm still compliant with the benchmark recommendations. And then I extended the graph tools, because if we're looking at the configuration profiles, it has basically 3 different types, like the catalog settings, the administrative tasks, and there's another third one that I cannot quite remember. So I was going to show you, this is my own created agent and what it's doing. I know I ran out of time. And once again, I do understand that as an Intune engineer, we're not trying to be developers. So that's why I kind of started to play around with, can AI actually help me? And what I found is that if I have, for instance, the Foundry Toolkit extension in VS Code, if I add Claude Code to VS Code, then I can have some great support from Claude, because it did get me a nice agent that does show me all the recommendations for my current policy. So it is kind of like a health check tool for my environment. And with that, I will stop talking. I will let you move to the next sessions and hope you will have a great day.